Hello, NAAOP members and friends. Peter Thomas here in Washington, D.C., NAAOP General Counsel. It's the last day of the Supreme Court's term of the spring 2012 term, and today the Supreme Court announced a decision in the Affordable Care Act case. This, otherwise known as Obamacare or National Health Care Reform, this is a major law that has been under discussion and debate at the Supreme Court for several months now. And this decision was rendered today and was declared constitutional. To some surprise to many who expected the law to be invalidated. In a 5-4 decision, Chief Justice Roberts, who is generally regarded as a conservative, joined the liberal bloc of the Supreme Court, 4 justices that are generally regarded as liberals, and decided to uphold the law. The individual mandate, which essentially is a shared responsibility that all people in 2014, all Americans must purchase insurance or pay a penalty if they don't. Ultimately, that was upheld under the Congress's authority under the Constitution to tax its people. Ultimately, the Medicaid provision is the other major aspect of the decision. Under the Affordable Care Act, Medicaid is expected to be expanded by about 16 million people starting in 2014. The law, as it reads, essentially requires states to participate in that expansion, even though most of the funds come from the federal government, at the risk of losing existing funding that the states receive from the federal government for its existing Medicaid population. The court decided that that was coercive and that that was prohibited under the spending clause of the U.S. Constitution. While they invalidated that from a constitutional perspective, they did say that as long as the state has the ability to choose not to participate in that expansion of Medicaid, that would pass muster under the Constitution. And so what you might have now as a result of this the Medicaid aspect of this decision is a situation where many states will go ahead and take that new federal money and expand their Medicaid populations, thereby providing insurance coverage to millions of people in their states. And then there'll be some states that choose not to do that. And there'll be all kinds of inequities with that. And we're still looking through the court's opinion and analyzing exactly the impact of that on orthotics and prosthetics and on all of healthcare generally. There's very few specific outcomes to this decision that impact orthotics and prosthetics, but because O&P is part of the broader healthcare arena, there clearly are some general impacts. So allow me to just detail a few. The first is that I expect a very significant acceleration of regulatory activity around the Affordable Care Act and implementing many of the provisions that the Affordable Care Act has included in it. The most important, I would suggest, to the O&P consumer and the practitioner is the Essential Health Benefits Package. I expect the Department of Health and Human Services to issue a proposed rule in the near future and for states to begin working on their benchmark benefit plans to figure out what it includes and what it does not include. And we have, from the O&P field, we're in a good position with respect to the Affordable Care Act, which lists a category of benefits as mandated benefits, which include rehabilitative services and devices. It actually says devices. And we interpret that as orthotics and prosthetics, and we're doing our level best to make sure that states and Department of Health and Human Services view it in the same way. There are a lot of other provisions that the Affordable Care Act, now that it's been deemed constitutional, will be accelerated, and a lot of regulatory activity will be taking place. Some not so helpful. The medical device tax will go into effect January 1, 2013, unless Congress acts to postpone or to invalidate that in some other way. We don't think that that's going to have a major impact on orthotics and prosthetics based on the regulations to that provision, but that device tax will go into effect the start of the new year. The major takeaway from this for the O&P consumer is that many people who have a need for orthotic and prosthetic care who don't have access to insurance will be able to get access to some kind of health insurance in 2014. And if they can't afford that, they will receive subsidies from the federal government to purchase insurance. And if they really are quite low income, in those states that choose to expand their Medicaid programs, they'll have access to Medicaid. There's a lot that's occurred. There's a lot of reading to be done. The court's opinion is 125 pages long between the minority and the majority opinions, and we'll be continuing to provide you with more in-depth analysis as developments occur. Thanks so much.